fucking around, Will.
Nope.
Welcome to That's Good Sports Podcast. I'm Brandon Perna here with @WillKeys6 on Twitter. His real name is also Will Keys without the 6 on it, but
No, I'm the 6th.
yeah, that would be
It's
cool.
my suffix.
Such a rich history of Will Keys, and it is Super Bowl week. Will, we are in middle of Super Bowl week, and then next week we'll have a post Super Bowl podcast. Both virgin territory here for us.
Yep. I was thinking about that. This is our first Super Bowl together.
Yeah,
I think this might be episode 40 for us. I can neither confirm or deny that.
I think you're right. Episode 40.
So it's almost a cool milestone, but not quite. It will be in 10 episodes.
Yeah, it would have been cool if this was episode 53. To match Super Bowl 53.
Yeah, we'll have to speed up our process. Here's what we can do. We can only record 14 times in the next year. And then we'll have episode 54 for Super Bowl 54.
Right. And since the Broncos will be in that Super Bowl, it'll be really, really cool.
Oh, we'll have a lot to talk about. A lot to talk about.
So much. Like today, we've got some Broncos stuff. The Hall of Fame votes are coming in this weekend, so we'll see if any of the Broncos get in. And then, of course, our Patriots versus Rams Super Bowl predictions, our thoughts on the game, everything that everybody has already said, but Will and I are going to say it better.
Yep.
And we're going to say some things that nobody else said. So, just listen to the words we're using about football and know that it's better. So
all of my takes are just a combination. Take all of the information that I absorb over the course of the week, and you just mash it into one neat container of takes, and that's basically what I'm serving you in this podcast.
Right. Speaking of, say, really neat takes, I want to start with the most important, not just sports story of the week, but news story and maybe human story. And that
post-human story.
Right. That was a tweet from Jose Canseco.
Yeah.
And it's not just one tweet. He's got a series of tweets about aliens and time travel. And if he's right, this is breaking news, Will.
Yeah, when you think about time travel, you expect a noted scientist or physicist to be the first one to break huge news about it. It just so happened to be former Oakland A's outfielder Jose Canseco that's giving us this news.
And it started 7 hours ago when Jose Canseco tweeted, "Aliens have been trying to teach us how to time travel, but first we have to change our body composition, which we are not willing to do. We have tried with animals and it has failed." Then he goes on, "Time travel puts 42,651 pounds of pressure on a human skeletal structure. Can you detach the brain from the body and equalize the pressure? It could be done."
He brings up a good point.
Our science is totally irrelevant to aliens. So, we are in communication with aliens with a very flexible body composition called the AI-51. First of all, I would say if you don't follow Jose Canseco on Twitter, it is a must.
Yeah, time to start.
a must do. And then there's some pictures of a golf club that apparently he likes. I don't know.
I should say that Jose Canseco played before my time, and my first exposure to him was being an extremely normal baseball player on The Simpsons, and he probably had the most heroic of the 8 misfortunes. I guess there are 8 out of 9 misfortunes because nothing happened to Darryl Strawberry in that Simpsons episode, Homer at Bat. And he gets stuck rescuing a woman from a burning house and then rescuing a baby and then just gradually like taking every piece of furniture out of the burning house.
Right.
So that's really all I knew about Jose Canseco for a while. And then he wrote the book Juiced, which like just outed a bunch of baseball players, like contemporary baseball players of his, for doing steroids and other illegal activities. And so I was like, I don't know if I like Jose Canseco. And then he shot his finger off with a handgun on accident. I'm like, I think I like Jose Canseco again. And now he tweeted this, and now I really like Jose Canseco.
Yeah, I feel like we have to do a Jose Canseco episode very soon.
Maybe get him as a guest. Who knows?
Yeah, his booking information is right on his Twitter. So for appearances, call Morgan 702-374-3735.
Sounds like a call I'm going to have to make.
My first, I guess, question would be, because he juiced, right? He outed people, but he was a juicer.
Mm-hmm.
So is there a relation between taking steroids and an increased belief in aliens?
You have to wonder, really. We should just like take an informal poll of like Sammy Sosa, Mark McGuire, Barry Bonds, Rafael Palmeiro, Roger Clemens, and just ask him like various extraterrestrial questions. And
I think
they line up with Jose.
I think our big off-season project could be do baseball players who have also taken steroids believe in aliens? The documentary by Will Keys and Brandon Perna.
Yeah. Someone probably just should have asked Julian Edelman at media night.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I bet Gronk believes in aliens for sure. Mm-hmm. And when I say, I believe in aliens, Will, like I believe that there's some sort of, there's like just by the numbers alone that there's some sort of
I do too.
Another organism out there. Do I think aliens have visited Earth?
No.
But I'm saying Gronk is a guy who probably would say aliens have visited Earth. I think Edelman open to the possibility, but maybe I would say he would be on the fence.
He's been probably more open to the possibility after that suspension.
After that a miraculous knee recovery, right?
Yeah, correct. Right. Yeah. Shouldn't say suspension. That's bad.
I guess
the world needs more open thinkers like Jose Canseco as well.
Right. Mm-hmm. But anyway, check out his alien tweets.
Such a weird way to open this.
I just want to read the rest of his Twitter instead of doing this podcast right now. If we colonize the moon, I should be president. Jose Canseco.
Moon President Canseco holding a State of the Moon address.
You don't need a wall. You need android robots.
Maybe he's
Invest in space travel.
I think we do. I think we already do that.
Oh, shit. Okay, so that will conclude our Jose Canseco news. Might have to turn into a weekly occurrence here. But
get him on, like I said.
I think the big thing this weekend for the Broncos anyway is that Pat Bowlen, Champ Bailey, Steve Atwater, John Lynch, all could, well, not all of them won't, but any one of them could get nominated into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I think Pat Bowlen's going to get in. Like,
I do too.
I feel like that's a done deal. Which one of those three do you think will get in, and which one, if you could only put one in right now, would you put in?
I think my answer is the same for both questions. I think it's Champ Bailey. I think he's like the definition of a first ballot Hall of Famer. He was, I think he was probably the best corner in the NFL from 2004 to what, like 2009
or 10?
I mean, a lot of guys would argue Darrelle Revis, but I don't know. I think obviously, like if you put Champ Bailey in New York, then he becomes a much more high-profile cornerback. And he wasn't like a very outspoken guy, not that Darrelle Revis particularly was either. But he's just kind of a guy that like never really said much, wasn't very like, aside from like 2 years where he had big interception numbers in 2005 and 2006, like he didn't have super gaudy numbers aside from that, just because guys like didn't even think about throwing to him. And I bet if you asked guys like Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Ben Roethlisberger who they had to game plan for most, I'd say they'd give you 3 guys: Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu, and Champ Bailey. And Ed Reed's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Polamalu probably should be in the first or second year. Bailey, I think, hands down, first ballot.
Yeah, Troy Polamalu was so good that, yeah, you're right. Ben Roethlisberger even game planned for him.
True. Yeah. In practice, I guess.
No, I mean,
if Miami of Ohio ever played USC back when they were both in college, I don't think they did.
I think you might be right in that Champ might get in, but if I could only put one of those guys in, it would be Steve Atwater. Just because I think Champ Bailey I think he'll get in next year if he doesn't get in this year. And I think it's hard to put John Lynch in before you put in Steve Atwater, because basically, like,
yeah, they're fairly similar.
Right. And it was like, and I've done multiple videos about why Steve Atwater should be in the Hall of Fame. It obviously didn't help him get in, but he's the guy this weekend that we'll know. What is it? Saturday evening? We know who the guys are. Fuck. So that means I need to get I need to have a video ready. Fuck.
We'll do that.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's Atwater. I think his stats are crazy for the time period he played in. He was a safety, like, linebacker hybrid in terms of like how many tackles he had. Obviously, like, the way he played the game was just so violent, and for a guy to play as long as he did, and like, I think he just paved the way for guys like John Lynch. So, and he was my favorite player growing up. Probably taken over maybe by Champ Bailey at some point. But if they were to both get in with Pat Bowlen, which won't happen, that would be the sweet trifecta. And then John Lynch can get in later. Like, he's a GM right now. There's no rush to get him in, you know?
Yeah, like, you feel like he's got enough visibility. The only, like, problem with Atwater and Champ Bailey especially, like, you don't hear from him ever. Like,
he goes on Colin Cow, or he did go on Cowherd's thing every now and then to, like, talk shit about Tim Tebow,
so.
But
he doesn't say very much that's like creating headlines or anything, like, a lot of guys do after they retire, just to kind of keep their name out there. And Lynch, like, not that Lynch does, but like, he was a broadcaster for a few years, and now obviously is the GM for the 49ers. So it's not like anybody's forgetting about John Lynch and what he did.
No.
The only weird thing is, like, now you wonder, like, if the NFL would be quick to celebrate guys who had their style of play, because there's no linebackers that play like Steve Atwater or John Lynch now. Like, that, it's just been legislated out of the game. Those guys I'm not saying those guys wouldn't be able to play. It's just like they would have to drastically change their style of play to fit today's NFL.
No, that's an interesting thing to think about. I was watching, like, Steve Atwater's highlights. Well, there's just like a handful of, like, some of his, hard hits. And the one thing, even as hard as Steve Atwater hit, he still had really good form. Like, it looked like he was hitting with his shoulder all of the time. And, and I'm sure there's examples of him maybe not, or him hitting guys in the fucking face. But what I saw, I was like, you know what? I think, like, these look violent, but they look like legal hits to me. I might be biased as well.
The only, like, really violent one, I think, was in Super Bowl 32.
Yeah.
The one where he took out everybody.
Took out all three. Him.
I think it was, like, Antonio Freeman.
And Was it
Randy
Ray
Hilliard.
Crockett or
I think it was Hilliard.
Randy Hilliard?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Hilliard, Atwater, they're all down. Yeah, and, like, on the big stage, Atwater produced. Like, he produced in that game.
Yeah.
You know, he had a strip sack of Brett Favre. So I think that's a big thing. If Champ Bailey doesn't get in, I think the one reason he doesn't is because he let Ben Watson chase him down.
That's fair.
If you're a corner,
that's after he picked off Tom Brady.
yeah, if you're a corner and a tight end runs you down at the 1 yard line, I think that's a knock. That's a knock on your career.
Yeah, a little bit, I guess so.
And I think
at least it wasn't a touchback.
No, but it was close. Like, I think with today's refs, I would put that ball being called a touchback 60% of the time.
And the Patriots?
Yeah. No, it's 80% of the time. This was before people respected the Patriots.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess we'll see. We'll have a video hopefully up on whoever gets in. But they all deserve to. John Lynch, too, he only played for the Broncos for a few years. He's more of a Buccaneer than a Bronco. So that's another reason the other guys deserve.
He is in the Ring of Fame, though, which I didn't realize until I went to the stadium this year.
Yeah, that was that was kind of a controversial move here amongst the locals.
Yeah, see, like, it'd be one thing if you won a Super Bowl and he was, like, a big part of that defense. But I don't know. He was really good, though. And I think he, like, identifies with the organization a little bit more than he does the Buccaneers, just because
nobody wants to identify with Tampa.
Yeah, I mean, what do you have to identify with, like, other than the Super Bowl? It's like strip clubs. I don't know. Pirate ship, sure.
Pirate ships are cool.
Yeah, so we're all, I don't know. I'm looking forward to hearing about that. I think if they get 2 out of 4, that's a win, because
that's a huge win.
Yeah, that's a big win. I think probably all 4 should be in eventually, plus Randy Gradishar, who, by the way, had Darius Leonard led the league with 163 tackles this year. Randy Gradishar averaged 200 tackles a year for 10 years. So
yeah, that's insane.
Just saying. Maybe hopefully one day.
Yeah, but he was just tackling running backs.
Sure. None of us were alive.
He was
really
just
cares?
tackling running backs.
Other big news, though. The Broncos are very close to hiring TC McCartney from the 49ers to be their quarterbacks coach. So I'm assuming that you know the significance behind TC McCartney and who he is.
Yeah, he's I mean, there's Colorado ties since he's the son of Paul McCartney. So
yes. Paul McCartney played at Red Rocks one time, and he knocked up a Colorado woman.
Right.
And yeah, so that's basically.
And I just read Peter Jackson is set to direct a Beatles documentary.
Oh.
Which, when you think Peter Jackson, you think music documentaries.
Yes. 100%.
So it's all coming together.
I still got to see that Peter Jackson World War I documentary, just to remind me.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. I think that's what it was. So yeah, the real story behind TC McCartney was back in the late 80s, around 1990, when Bill McCartney. That's right. That's his first name, right? Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Bill McCartney was. I always get that mixed up. The head coach of Colorado, very outwardly religious kind of guy, but a good coach and a good guy. And Sal Anesi, who was the starting quarterback for the Buffaloes, impregnated Bill McCartney's daughter, and she had the child. And then about a year later, Anesi died of cancer, like a very aggressive form of cancer. By I think the 1991 season, he was gone. And so TC McCartney is his son, the late quarterback, and the daughter of Bill McCartney, who's his grandfather.
Wow,
so he's
that's crazy.
Yeah. No, watch if you haven't seen it.
It's there's a 30 by 30, right?
Yeah, the Gospel According to Mac.
Right.
That's I think one of the best 30 for 30s. It'll explain the whole thing. If you watch that, you'll be like, "This is an incredible story." Especially if they go through with it and hire him to be the quarterback's coach, which I hope they do.
Yeah, he's an assistant with the 49ers in some capacity.
Yeah. So you like the move with like Scandrello and kind of bringing over some of the elements of that offense along with the offensive coordinator. I think is a pretty wise move, especially to have like a lot of diversity on that coaching staff. Not talking in terms of traditional diversity, but like football diversity in terms of like a defensive guy, like an older defensive guy as the head coach, and then some younger offensive-minded guys who were obviously hot head coaching candidates. Not necessarily these guys, but their type
right
this offseason. So I think you get a good mix of both, and it creates like a healthy, good coaching staff.
And by type you mean 5'10" Italian offensive-minded coaches.
Talking about you.
5'10", I wish.
Are you offensive? Do you think you're offensive minded or defensive minded? What do you think about more?
That's a good question. I probably would be a better offensive coach, although I always enjoyed playing defense more. And I think about ways to stop the other teams more.
I'm going to say defensive minded then.
Yeah, but I think my creativity would be wasted. I think offense, I could really draw up some shit, man. Some X's and O's like you wouldn't even believe.
All right. We'll say you're offensive minded. You're definitely offensive. So
did I talk about the dream I had about Bill Belichick last time on the podcast?
I don't think so, no.
Oh, yeah. I had a dream about Bill Belichick, and I met him for whatever reason, and it was like the day of the Super Bowl, and we were like on this like deck, like patio deck overlooking a thing, and the first thing I said to him is that I hated him. So I hate you. I don't like the way your team plays, but I respect that you always win. And then for some reason, like we started having like a really good conversation about football. And I found out that his secret was that before games, he tended to his big garden that he had. And we were just watering his garden while talking about football. I don't know what that means.
I don't think Bill Belichick has watered a plant in his life.
I don't know, man. But that's when you say, what do you think about more? That's the weird shit I think about.
That's funny you bring that. I had a dream last night that the Chiefs beat the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. Oh. I was very upset.
That could actually be the Super Bowl next year.
I know. It's scary to think about. And like I realize like how less stressed out I am these last 2 weeks because the Patriots are playing in the Super Bowl rather than the Chiefs. That'd be pretty tough on me, I think. I'm used to the Patriots at this point, and obviously I didn't want to see either of them. But like the Chiefs being in the Super Bowl, that might be too much for me to handle.
You become complacent. That's scary.
I know. Yeah. We not to dip into that discussion again. I think we exhausted that.
Yeah, I'll concur, Will. Well, the Broncos do so they get TC McCartney in to be their quarterback coach.
Yeah. Still need a quarterback.
And the Drew Lock rumors are getting hotter.
Yeah. Well, they're heating up.
Becoming a big thing, even on the national media.
Yep.
And they're basically saying that like it's become like a running joke that Elway.
I don't like the sound of that.
That Elway is all in on Drew Lock. That it looks like if the Broncos have to trade up to get him, they might do that. That every time that they watched Elway at the Senior Bowl, he was watching Drew Lock. I mean, it almost sounds like he's like a stalker scenario, but
he was seen. He was seen in an adjacent hotel room looking through binoculars in between shades on the window.
Exactly.
Yeah, into Drew Lock's hotel room.
So I just wanted to say Drew Lock's name because I still don't think I think I've only watched him throw 3 passes, and it was like
Yeah,
the first
I actually watched
60 seconds of a YouTube highlight video.
part of the Senior Bowl on Saturday, and I can tell you that he mostly sucked. And most
Okay,
of the
good.
quarterbacks sucked, except for Daniel Jones, for what it's worth.
Is
I
that
don't know.
the guy from Duke?
Yeah, that's the Duke guy. I have no idea if the Senior Bowl means anything to anyone. I think the practices probably mean more. In general, I don't really care. I think, what you put on tape in college is really should be exhibit A, B, and C when you're thinking about drafting a guy, especially a quarterback.
You know what they say? What you put on tape in college is the tape that you put on in college.
Yep. Yeah. Everybody says that. Definitely. Uh, yeah. We were discussing it before the show, how much of a fan I am of Drew Luck. Drew Luck. I think I just want him to be Andrew Luck.
Yeah, if his last name was Luck, I would be all in.
Buddy. Yeah. No,
But
not really though.
Luck,
I really don't want the Broncos to take him. I think he's like one of those guys every year that becomes just like a media creation, a guy who probably shouldn't go in the first round. And all of a sudden, like, he's kind of a fringe first round guy. And then the more and more people talk about him and the more like they measure his hands and all that stupid shit, he becomes like a top 5 player. And like you go from like the Broncos thinking, I wonder if this guy will be around the second round too. We have to fucking trade up in the first round to get him. Never a good sign. The only time I can think of that actually working out is recently with Patrick Mahomes. And I think that's going to fuck over a lot of people going against the grain and taking guys that have better like traits and skill sets than they do actual bodies of work in college.
right? And I think the other thing that's kind of like
concerning.
the other thing that's concerning is okay, so with Patrick Mahomes, you have Andy Reid trading up to get him. And you already know like Andy Reid has a long track record of having success with his offenses, and you assume he knows what kind of quarterback he wants to run his system. Mm-hmm. And they also had Alex Smith, who still
and he gets to sit for a year too.
Was like, one of the 10 to 15 best quarterbacks in the NFL. So that's a really safe position to be in. Not only is there uncertainty with Drew Lock, but you're bringing in all these new coaches, and sure, you can listen to as many people say like Scangarello was a huge part of all the quarterbacks' developments at San Francisco, but what the fuck does that even mean? Like, yeah. We saw none of them play more than like 7 straight games, whether it's injury or whatever's happening there, and like. We don't have an offensive coordinator who's done what Andy Reid's done that long. So it's just a bunch of hearsay right now. Yeah. It's like, I don't know. I'm good. I want to be optimistic about it, but again.
And we should also mention that the Chiefs were literally like a team that had just won the AFC West and had a first round bye and realized that like, the only position we really need to upgrade is quarterback.
Right.
The Broncos were 6-10 after a year when they're 5-11, and they have plenty of needs on the defensive side. And there's 3 really good first-round cornerbacks that would be available at 10, most likely. And there's other positions as well. Like, and to zero in on a quarterback, especially one of the more questionable cornerbacks. If this is like Dwayne Haskins or something, I think I'd have a different opinion. But like the fact that it's just like such a question mark, and you're just passing up on guys that are like probably going to be solid starters to Pro Bowlers in the NFL for a guy who could, he's not going to be the next Patrick Mahomes. I threw up when I heard Mahomes comparisons to Drew Lock. And he's somewhere in between that and Paxton Lynch. and the scale is probably tipping more towards the Lynch side with every passing day. It's very concerning, and I really just hope it's a smokescreen at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a smooth move if it was a smokescreen. If the Broncos traded up and took Dwayne Haskins,
yeah,
what would your reaction be?
I think I'd be okay with it. I don't love trading up just in general, but if like you really think that's your guy, and you've got a guy like Dwayne Haskins, who actually played well in college, as opposed to Drew Lock, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, and what
obviously you've got the 49ers at 2, who they've got a relationship with. So
very sexy relationship with. I think I would be much more excited about Haskins.
I would say
I know very little about both. But Lock's obviously a senior. Haskins really only played one full year.
Yeah.
He's young, so
50 touchdowns that year. So
yeah, exactly.
Won the Rose Bowl. Not bad.
Yeah. And not a ton of picks either. So
yeah. 50 touchdowns in considerably fewer games than Patrick Mahomes, too.
Yeah. If you trade up ahead of the Giants, is that who the Broncos have to worry about picking your quarterback?
Yeah, the Giants and the Jaguars.
Oh, yeah, the Jags.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who knows, though? One of them could get Nick Foles and then call it a day.
Yeah. But before we even really start thinking about that, we'll do free agency. The next couple of weeks, I want to do like 5 defensive free agents that the Broncos should try and target, and like 5 offensive free agents. And I want to try and look at – because you can just, pick the top free agent at safety, at corner, at linebacker, and say the Broncos should get them. But see if there are some,
under the radar guys.
Sneaky.
Guys like Darian Stewart. When they signed Darian Stewart from Baltimore in 2015.
Yeah, that was huge.
Didn't cost anything, and he ended up being the guy that pretty much put the defense over the edge.
Yeah, and that came the year after, they landed Ware, Ward, Sanders, and Talib. So I would really like one of those big splash years. You might need your quarterback before you can do that, but we'll take a look at all of that stuff. Ton to think about, but let's move into the Super Bowl because it is Super Bowl.
Let's do it. Did you watch a lot of media night?
No, I caught clips and highlights of it.
It's called opening night. I watched a lot of the Rams Q&A, whatever press conference nonsense. I have to say, the part where the Rams are finishing up their media availability and the Patriots are starting theirs, and they have them come to the same stage and shake hands. I hate it. It's the worst thing I've seen. I know they had when the Broncos went to the Super Bowl in 2015. All I remember was DeMarcus Ware and Luke Kuechly got interviewed next to each other, and that was the only fraternization between the two teams that I noticed. There might have been more, and even that made me uncomfortable. I hate it. They had Jared Goff and Tom Brady next to each other, and then Devin McCourty and Aqib Talib, and then Sean McVay with Bill Belichick, and it just makes me so fucking uncomfortable. Seeing them try to not say the wrong thing around each other, and try to act nice when they're about to be ripping each other's heads off. Sometimes literally in the case of Aqib Talib, 6 days from then. It's just so weird. And you wouldn't do it any other week out of the year. I don't know why you are now.
You know what would be cool? You know how you can make the Super Bowl better? And this goes into part of your plan where you keep all the players away from each other. And I don't know how you do this, Will, but make it so the teams who are playing in the Super Bowl don't know who their opponent is.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot.
So,
yeah. It's like,
or you could.
It's like
you
one of
could
those
do
reality
it for-
shows.
You could do it for the championship games where you just forget about AFC, NFC, and the teams don't know who they're playing
Oh, that's
until
interesting.
the night before, and they have to fly to their destination.
So you get like any of 3 teams.
Yeah. So like for the championship game,
a lot.
the Patriots could have played the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
You have your home team. And then I think what that could do is you take away the advantage of the Patriots always being better at game planning. And then come game day, you just figure out who has the better players.
That's pure football.
Yeah. But it would be really hard to figure out how to make that work for the Super Bowl.
I don't know, man. Just like keep them sequestered, like like the OJ jury, and keep them away from civilization.
Unless you,
I think it would work.
Like, how could you do it? You'd have to just give whoever had the best record, and then you figure out tie breaking.
Yeah, first of all, we cut it down to 1 week in between.
Yeah.
Well, if you're doing the Super Bowl, not the conference championship, obviously it's already 1 week.
Right.
Yeah. No, I'm on board 100%.
You just one team gets to go to the whoever's the best team through the NFL season, that team gets to go to the Super Bowl, and then you can figure out who their opponent will be and keep it secret somehow.
Imagine if you game plan for like the Saints and Drew Brees, and then like they blindfold you and fly you to the stadium, and you look up and it's Lamar Jackson and the Ravens.
Ooh, yeah, that'd be sweet. That's how maybe you could do the whole playoffs that way.
Yes.
And you fly. It's like college basketball, and they're all just like it's in Atlanta the whole time.
Yeah,
so they
like
all go there.
Yeah.
And so each week, so wild card weekend is in one city, then the divisional in the next, and then the championships in a final city. And each time it's just like you don't know who you're going to face. That's how you do it.
Genius.
That's football, baby.
The Patriots, all right, we're leaving out the part where the Patriots would find out who they're playing illegally and game plan for them.
Yeah, somehow the Patriots would just determine which teams actually play each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
That's where this whole plan falls apart. Other than that, I think it's foolproof.
It's a really good idea to make football better.
What did you think about Nickel Robey-Coleman basically saying that age has taken a toll on Tom Brady, and people freaking out about it?
Blowing it up. I liked it, I guess. I don't really care. He walked back his comments the next day. I wish he would have just like doubled down on him. But I think the point you were leading to in the prediction episode is I totally agree with. Like, you can't be more motivated to play the Super Bowl than you already are. If I would imagine, like, if that comment was the one thing that made Brady go, you know what? I wasn't going to study film Wednesday night, but
now I think I might.
Since he called me old, I'm going to put in 2 hours of tape study on Coleman specifically.
That I don't know. Like, that's the only thing I can think of is like he just might target him more. But like I think he's probably thinking about targeting him a lot anyways. Like, I think he's going to target him and Marcus Peters over and over. And
I would hope he targets him more than Peters because Coleman's a pretty good nickel corner.
Yeah, I think he's better than Peters.
Do you think – okay, so Marcus Peters takes chances in games, right? And I think it's hard to take chances against the Patriots offense. But I also think, like, sometimes defenses are intimidated.
Sometimes you have to. Like,
Is Peters, like – I feel like he could make a game-changing play because – he takes a chance. And one reason Aqib Talib has so many pick sixes is because he's a smart football player.
Has he Talib'd anyone this year? Like the full Talib?
I don't know.
Just pick and then a super long run back.
I don't
it's got to happen.
He was hurt
It
so
happens once a
early.
year. It happens
Yeah.
once a year. It's got to happen.
One of those guys, I feel like, has got to make one of those kind of plays.
Yeah.
Yep. Whether it's going to be, like Brady thinks he has Edelman on the crossing route and somebody jumps the fucking pattern. Or the route. And
basically like that Robert Alford pick in the Super Bowl 51.
Right. Or when, Von Miller dropped into coverage and picked him in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah. Get Aaron Donald jumping James White for a pick.
Could be Ebucam. I mean, he did that to Mahomes in the highlight game. I don't know.
I remember on media night, Tom Brady called him Ekubon, like Ebenezer Ekubon. Like, dude, you are old.
Man, I hated playing against old Ebenezer. Can't believe he's still in the league.
The great Browns defensive lineman.
Really going to be worried about Elvis Dumerville as well.
Yeah. Courtney Brown coming off the edge. Buddy, look out.
The Browns. Mike Shanahan's worst moves, bringing in the Browns defense.
Gerard Warren.
The Browns are getting rid of all these guys? Fuck it. I'll take them.
Yeah, why not? Make it work.
Do you think – who do you think is going to have – who's going to have more passing yards, Goff or Brady?
That's interesting because I talked about this in the prop bets episode that we're going to do.
Right.
And Brady has threw for about 360 in the Seahawks Super Bowl, threw for, I think, 470 in the Falcons Super Bowl, and then threw 505 last year in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I think you have to take Brady. I think, like, especially when they get into the second half, like, I think they're going to realize, like, we're just going to start throwing nearly every play if it's close. And that's kind of what they did last year. Got away a little bit from the run. And I think if it's close, like, that's their default mode. Whereas if it's close for the Rams, like, that's where they kind of want to be. And that's, like, if they're able to hand the ball off, like, to create either a balanced play sheet between pass and run, or, like, even slightly unbalanced in favor of the run, like, I think they're in a good spot. So ideally for the Rams, you don't want Goff to have too many yards. I think if he gets 400, like, that's probably a bad sign.
Yeah. You're probably right.
A couple, like, huge plays. I think what's more important probably for either of them is, like, you don't want to surpass 50 attempts.
I'll agree with that.
Yeah, I think if Goff throws, like, more than 40 times, good chance the Rams lost. Brady,
yeah,
who knows?
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting because, and this is the most cliche football thing to say, but I think the reason both of these teams are in the Super Bowl this season is because their offensive lines and defensive lines have sort of controlled, dominated games. The Rams' offensive line, not so much against the Saints, but the Saints have a pretty good defensive front. But I will be curious to see if the Patriots try and stick with their rush-first sort of offensive attack, because it worked against the Chargers and it worked against the Chiefs. And I just think they just have a big, strong offensive line, a good fullback, and 3 running backs that they sort of keep each guy fresh with, and they all can do different things a little bit better. But I can also see, like, the Rams offensive line controlling, the Patriots defense, and Todd Gurley and CJ Anderson doing what they did against the Cowboys. So I just feel like whichever one of those units play better is going to give their team the sort of the edge to win.
Yeah.
I just don't know who it's going to be.
Question for you, going back to Marcus Peters, because, like, I think he's really interesting during this game, because I think Brady will probably try to target him a lot. And I think depending on what Peters does in this game, I think that could determine a lot of the outcome. if you were Wade Phillips or Sean McVay, would you tell him to play more conservative just in this game? Or would you not even like try to mess with it and just like tell him to like do what you've been doing all year? And if you get burned, you get burned. But we'd rather you not just like play conservatively and get picked apart, death by paper cuts, 5-yard outs to Edelman and whatever. If you give up a big play, you give up a big play, but you might get a big play for the defense. Like you might pick off a pass, whatever. Yeah,
I think if I know Wade Phillips, which on a personal level I do not.
Not yet.
I think he's just going to he's going to have his players do what they've done all year. I don't think Wade's scared to have his players just try to play to their strengths. I don't know if he's necessarily scared to kind of give up a big play. And I think Peters has more flexibility with Aqib Talib in the lineup. So the problem is just figuring out which guy you need Talib sort of to be on in the Patriots offense.
Yeah, because you don't know if it's Gronkowski or Edelman or Hogan. I'd say any three of those guys kind of make sense.
Right, and I think that's what's going to be interesting. Athletically, I think Marcus Peters matches up with Julian Edelman better than Aqib Talib does. But you also have – that's going to be Coleman's sort of job anyway. It'll probably be like the Patriots – Brady throws 2 touchdown passes to Cordarrelle Patterson, who finishes the day with like 130 receiving yards.
It'll probably be like Rex Burkhead this time.
Yeah.
Like James Devlin catches 3 touchdowns, who knows.
But I would try to – I would have Peters do what he's done well. And he's typically made his picks against like good quarterbacks. I feel like he did it against Manning. Like, I don't know. I don't trust him to be consistent through the whole game, but
Holmes this year.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think what'd you think of Belichick's comments about Wade Phillips? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I didn't think they were like, he didn't really like say anything nice about him.
No, it's just like he's never changed his defense ever.
Yeah. It's been that defense for 30 years and Wade's like, oh, actually it's been 40 years.
Yeah. I love it. I think when you get that old too, like you're not fucking scared to lose a football game. You know what you know.
Especially that he finally won a Super Bowl after whatever 35, 40 years of coaching. Like he's playing with house money in terms of his career. Everything is set in stone. The fact that he's in the Super Bowl, I think he's probably going to play balls to the wall. And like he drew up the perfect game plan against the Patriots in 2015.
Yeah.
And if there's anybody, like obviously they don't have the same their defense is not up to that unit, but I'd say like on a pure talent level, like they're not that far behind that team on defense. Like they haven't played up to the Broncos 2015 level of defense, but like they have guys that could all have huge games. We know about Donald. Sue's had 2 really good games in the playoffs. Peters, of course. Talib is literally, the guy from the 2015 Broncos defense. I don't know if you have the same versatility at linebacker. Like maybe Corey Littleton is like the guy like Trevathan that can cover a tight end. I don't know if it's quite as good, but I think they have like enough good pieces to the point where if everybody plays well, then they could hold the Patriots to 20 points.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference between like Wade's 2015 defense with the Broncos and the Rams is your one linebacker. So that's Brandon Marshall is better than Barron. And then your play from your safeties. John Johnson is a pretty good safety. He's also he's tiny. He's like the smallest defensive player in the NFL. And the Broncos had, Darian Stewart playing great football, TJ Ward, and until he got hurt, David Bruton was like an excellent reserve safety for that team that season. And unfortunately, he didn't get to play in the postseason. But I think like that's where maybe there's a little bit of weakness on that defense. And then inexplicably, like why they have sucked against the run so much this season with the amount of like beef they do have on the defensive line.
Yeah, I'm just saying like you could see a scenario where Aaron Donald has 2 sacks and maybe 3 quarterback hits, and Sue has like whatever a tackle and a half for loss and another quarterback hit, and Dante Fowler has a sack. And Talib has a good game on the outside.
I always forget about that Fowler's there.
Yeah. Maybe Brockers does something and stuffs the run a little bit.
I think
Ebucom gets a turnover, whatever. Like you could see all these guys having good individual games. Like they don't always put it together at the same time, but if they did, and the Super Bowl obviously can bring the best out of some guys individually. And if they like a few guys just have like really above average games, like that's all the Rams I think need.
Yeah, and I think physically they match up better against the Patriots than the Chiefs defensive front and the Chargers defensive front.
Yeah.
The other thing from the Broncos 2015 season, I mean they had 7 sacks in the Super Bowl against Cam Newton.
Yeah.
So I don't think
they're gonna do that.
If they do sack Brady 7 times after he had been sacked 0 times this entire postseason, I'll give the game to the Rams.
Yes, I'm comfortable saying that too.
But I thought a really good point you brought up is special teams in this game.
Yeah,
and that both teams have pretty damn good special teams units. With the Rams, with Greg Zuerlein, with Hecker being able to punt and do fake punts. The Patriots special teams is always good. Patterson has been the best kick returner this league. Julian Edelman is probably the most reliable punt returner in the game. And that's the difference that could cost the Rams a game is who's their JoJo Natson, their punt returner, and versus Julian Edelman, he just you rarely see him but muff a punt. And he almost did.
The closest he got was last game.
And it magically did not touch his hands. But I thought that was probably, if we were a real football show on a real network, people would say that's a really smart point, Will.
That's a very smart point. Thank you. I want to go back to the defense really quick and then point out I think you covered it on special teams.
Top defense.
You could say is the Patriots have kind of screwed up in big games on special teams with their extra points. Gostkowski or whoever it was, Ryan Allen, mishandled one last year in the Super Bowl, which made it an 8-point game instead of a 7-point game, which is obviously significant. And then in 2015 in the AFC Championship game, Gostkowski just missed. So, they're not perfect in that category. And that's, I don't know, that's all you can really say. Because other than that, they're pretty close to even.
Yeah.
On the defensive side for the Rams too. And I think one thing that you can look at and say this is something they give you better than the Chargers and the Chiefs could give you is the Chargers and the Chiefs, their strength was both from the edge.
Yeah.
You have Houston and D Ford and then Bosa and Ingram, who are all, for the most part, playing on the edge. And the Rams' strength, conversely, not that they're weak on the edge because Fowler's good, and occasionally they'll put Brockers on the outside, Brockers in the 3-tech, Donald in the nose, and then Ndamukong Suh as the 5-tech as the 3-4 defensive end. But they're so much stronger in the middle than the last 2 teams that the Patriots played that I think that's a significant difference in terms of scheme and in terms of getting to Brady because it's so hard to get to him from the outside. It's much easier just because he gets rid of the ball so quick. The outside rush is mostly nullified. The best way to get to him is just in a straight line, the shortest possible distance from point A to point B, and that's, right up the middle. because he's not, he's not taking huge drops and he's not booting out like Russell Wilson. He's either, in the gun, dropping back a couple of steps, and then when the outside rush does come, if the ball isn't out already, which it usually is, he'll step up and like shuffle up and to the front of the pocket and then throw. But if you can collapse the pocket from the inside, and obviously everybody talks about it, that it's much easier said than done, but it has been done before. I always bring up Terrence Knight in the 2013 playoff game, and then Malik Jackson and Derek Wolfe did it too.
Yeah, and even Sylvester Williams was like, he played his best season in 2015, Sylvester Williams, for the Broncos.
And like you think about even a game that the Patriots won, Grady Jarrett was the reason that the Patriots were down 28-3 for the most part.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, it's that, like, again, that's the Patriots line going against, I just think, more physical players that the Rams have at those positions. And not only is it like something that can disrupt Tom Brady in the passing game, it can disrupt the run game for the Patriots that's been so good through the playoffs.
Yeah.
Suddenly, like, you can't run when you want to. That changes things for New England. And let's not forget that they used a lot of luck against the Chiefs.
They did.
I mean, Brady almost getting sacked, just throws it out, and James White does like a 180 to turn around and catch it with one hand. You got Edelman not touching it. You've got the D Ford's offsides. I mean, that is a lot of luck.
Chris Hogan catch.
I mean,
yeah, getting the ball in overtime.
Feel like they only got one luck. They're only going to get one lucky.
I don't know, like
Super Bowl.
Yeah, you think that you would say that about most teams, and then you have to remember it's the Patriots.
Right.
So who knows? Like, they could just get 2 games where everything goes their way again.
Yeah, the Rams got a lot of luck too against the Saints.
They did get some luck too. So I think either way you spin it, like, you could say, like, well, the Rams lose, their luck ran out. The Patriots lose, their luck ran out. Who knows?
Yeah, it all comes down to luck. It all comes down to who Andrew Luck is rooting for,
Yeah.
I have to say every year
for the Rams.
So we say every year when we do our Super Bowl.
Really quick, so I know we don't have like probably a ton of time, but like we started working on our prop bets video.
Right.
I know you took a look over it.
Yeah.
Do any of those jump out to you as super interesting prop bets that you want to talk about before we do the video?
Let me open it. Because my memory will is
it's so good.
Dog shit. Where
I'll just throw out a couple now. Like the first one I think I mentioned was CJ Anderson at 16-1 odds to win MVP, which I like, just being able to like throw down $10 on a ticket for CJ Anderson.
Right. No, I think that's a really smart bet because he could just have 130 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Let's see here. The McVay's age thing.
I think that's a slam dunk. Like, it has to be.
Here's the question, though. Like, Tony Romo and Jim Nantz are going to be aware of these things.
Even if you're aware of it, like, I'm sure they are aware of it, that like it gets brought up like all the time and like people are sick of hearing it.
Oh, if you are aware of it,
yeah.
What can anything stop Tony Romo from placing that bet on his own behalf? Could he bet like $10,000 on the over and then do it?
I don't know. I think it's a little unethical for broadcasters to bet on the games that they're calling, especially when one of the prop bets directly relates to them.
Can Maroon 5 bet on the number of songs they're going to play?
I don't think so.
Adam Levine, I don't know, man.
I don't think so. No,
I think you're
– that.
I won't give away your best joke on this one.
I don't even know what it is.
It's already been fucking ripped off on NFL memes and other bullshit. But
Of course. Let's see.
Let's see here.
Okay, we already talked about it. Will any quarterback throw for 400 yards in the game? No is minus 450. So you've got yes, plus 275. Pretty decent value, especially given the fact that Brady's thrown for 400 in the last 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah, I think there's money to be made here.
If you're betting for it, yeah.
First touchdown's always interesting.
Yeah. I think I pointed out James White plus 900 is good odds. And if you want to, I think a nice little, two-pronged bet here is if you want to bet 16-1 odds that C.J. Anderson wins MVP, then you have to do the bet. There's actually 2 bets that you could do along with that, and that's C.J. Anderson having over 45 rushing yards and then over 55.5 combined rushing and receiving yards.
Oh.
So if he's winning Super Bowl MVP, he's got,
Yeah, you might as well just triple down on your –
most likely going over, yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to have to place some of those tomorrow.
Yes. Another interesting one, will the roof be open for kickoff? I tried to do some research into this.
I know.
And I'm still stumped.
You've got it broken down to even how long it takes to open the roof.
Yeah. Because I found out they are doing a flyover.
Right.
And the roof is retractable. It just comes down to because they do the flyover.
This Arctic vortex really making this dicey for you.
It is because it's going to be 60 degrees though. It's going to be not unseasonably, but warmer than it has all week in Atlanta for the game. So you think they might do it, but when they do the flyover, it's at the end of the national anthem, and I was trying to figure out how much time exactly is between the national anthem and the kickoff, and I feel like it might just be 8 minutes and 10 seconds, and they would just they've probably got it lined up perfectly,
I think you're right. I think they've got enough time to end the national anthem, let the flyover happen, and then let the roof close.
Go to commercial, let the roof close. By the time the ball's kicked off, things close.
Well, we'll see if we can find any more interesting ones for the episode, but prop bets, if you're not interested in the Super Bowl, it makes it one of the most – if you're not a football person, it makes watching it a lot more fun.
Yeah. How do you like to watch the Super Bowl? Do you place any bets? Do you do squares, anything like that?
I did squares for the longest time, and you can do that on my bookie. So I might do squares, but now it's since I'm so focused on taking notes and trying to figure out if I should do an episode that night or the next day, or are the Patriots going to lose? Are they really going to lose? Are they really going to lose? That's for this game. I don't need
I know,
to bet on anything because I will want the Patriots to lose so bad that that'll be interesting enough to me. But if it were, say, I don't know. Let's say if it was the Ravens and the Saints,
right.
I'm going to probably want some of those things to make it interesting.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's there are a lot of people that it's a big drinking night, and I don't know, man. I think football is the greatest drug of all, and
get high on football all the time.
I could see drinking in a regular season game is appealing. I don't think it's the same for the Super Bowl. You just don't need it, and obviously do whatever you want, but the betting and everything, it's a game. It's the biggest game of the year. It's if you can't get motivated to play the Super Bowl, what are you doing? If you can't get motivated to watch the Super Bowl, what are you doing?
Yeah. If it's
at that point,
if it's close in the second half, it's basically I have basically just 2
caveat,
hours.
If it's a blowout, everything changes.
Yeah. If it's close, I have just adrenaline pumping through me for hours. I'm a nervous fucking wreck.
Oh yeah.
And it was that way. I mean, it's basically been that way the last 4 Super Bowls. because I wanted the Patriots to lose and the Broncos were there. So I wanted the Broncos to win. And it's just
it was weird. Like, obviously, like you and I, like, we were probably both nervous wrecks in Super Bowl 50, but like, I think a lot of people thought that was a boring game who were unattached. I thought that was like a really close game, especially because like that second strip sack happened when the Panthers were down 6. Like everybody that like watched that game from a neutral point of view are like, that's kind of a bummer of a game.
Yeah, the Broncos just kicked their the whole time. I was like, there's not a big enough lead here.
Yeah,
I'm comfortable.
I was on pins and needles the whole time.
Yeah, and what's sad is like at halftime of the Falcons Patriots Super Bowl, my friend and I were like, Atlanta's not far enough ahead to feel good about the second half.
No.
And it was the worst correct prediction of our lives.
Not great. Yeah.
But okay, so final prediction. We can take to win this game. And did you ever tally up our totals? Or we'll do that.
I'm not. I'm going to tally it up once we're done and I'm done putting it off. Because I have to go back in like some episodes and actually do some math. I'll have that next week.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We'll
why tally it up when it's not complete, obviously. But yeah, for my prediction, I thought about it. I'm going to take the Rams. And I'm not saying that just because it's wishful thinking. Like, this is a 13-3 team versus an 11-5 team when it comes down to it. The Rams, I think, have been more talented all season. If you look at the quarterback numbers, like Jared Goff played better than Tom Brady this season. And yeah, the Patriots played 2 good playoff games. Beat the hell out of the Chargers at home. Fine. Outlasted the Chiefs on the road. That was an impressive win. I think the Rams have had 2 impressive wins in the postseason of their own. I think we kind of forget just because it's the mighty Patriots. Like this has been a better team all year. And I don't think that's being brought up enough, that like from start to finish, and especially because like the Rams had that lull kind of like 4/5 through the season. People sort of wrote them off. Not like the Patriots were written off, of course, naturally, the huge underdog Patriots. But I think they kind of get slept on as being one of the elite teams from the season. And obviously they had the best record in the NFL at 13-3. I think they win. I think it's a close game. Whenever the Patriots play in the Super Bowl, it's a close game. I don't expect it to change. I think it's going to be a little lower scoring than people would expect. I'm going to go with 24-21. Rams.
Ooh. Okay.
Super Bowl MVP, Todd Gurley.
Oh shit. I think Todd Gurley is due to have a big game.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he had a pretty good big game against the Cowboys, but I just feel like the Saints was such a disappointment for him. I feel like he's going to be a big factor for the Rams. So I agree there. I agree the Rams can win this game, but I feel like if I pick them to win, that guarantees that they won't. I think it'll be close, like you said. So I'm gonna pick the Patriots just because that's the only chance I can give the Rams. But also, I feel like they're gonna win it. I just feel like they're gonna taunt. It's like it's a personal vendetta, and they're gonna taunt me, even though they don't know they're directly taunting me. They're gonna taunt.
They know. Bill Belichick is aware of that dream you had.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
He put that dream in my head.
Yeah, I think so. I think he incepted it into your brain.
He knows I know how to beat a Wade Phillips defense.
Mm-hmm. But does he know how to beat Goff?
That's what we're going to find out.
That's the real question.
And if we can keep that joke alive for one more week,
yep, we will have done our jobs.
I'll be so happy.
And then at that point, if the Patriots win, we can also exploit them, take their money, and sell blue and red beating Goff shirts.
Exactly. With clown noses on them.
Yes.
And a score from the game.
Yeah. Yeah, with the Fox scoreboard.
Right.
Even though it was on CBS.
Right. Perfect.
Okay, one last question for you though, because you took the Patriots. I assume that means you think Tom Brady's going to be the MVP. In that case, what would the Patriots winning? What would someone else have to do to win MVP over Brady? Because like James White was the best player in Super Bowl 51, and he couldn't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Trey Flowers would have to have like a Von Miller level performance, like a couple strip sacks. What Von Miller only had 2.5 sacks in that game. Were both of Miller's plays strip sacks though, or is it just the one?
No, both of them.
Okay, yeah, that's Trey Flowers got to have 2 strip sacks, and Trey Flowers probably has to return one of those for a touchdown, and the Patriots have to win 7-0. Trey Flowers has to be the only person to score for the Patriots.
Like Brady didn't play that well in the conference championship game, but like if that game was a Super Bowl, they'd probably give him MVP.
Oh, totally.
With like a 1-2 touchdown interception ratio.
People were gushing about how well
Sonny Michel had 100 yards and 2 touchdowns for the second straight week.
They were gushing about how Brady throwing the ball in the fourth quarter and overtime, and it was like most underwhelming. Predictably, like, I don't know. So Sonny Michel or James White would have to have over 200 yards of offense in all of the Patriots touchdowns.
And then Belichick cuts them. Like
Yeah.
Who are the Patriots cutting the night before the game this year?
That would be a good prop bet.
Yeah. Oh, that would be good.
Who gets benched?
Let's see.
Bill Belichick benches Aqib Talib. Somehow Sean McVay just lets him do it. That would
text him to do it. Yeah. Oh man.
Oh, that would have been good. Your virus joke.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, that's the Super Bowl podcast. That's Good Sports episode. Anything else, Will? Have you vented?
No. Enjoy the game. Have a fun time watching the Super Bowl. Fuck you, Tom Brady. Fuck the Patriots.
Yeah, I can't say that because it's obviously bad luck. But if they lose, you better believe I will.
And if they win.
No, yeah, probably even more if they win.